welcome to a new video. This is Nahid. Today I'm going to discuss a chapter from your supplementary reader which is prescribed for both SEBA and CBSE students. So the name of the chapter is The Midnight Visitor. Unfortunately, CBSE removed this chapter from the syllabus as the 30% cutoff, but anyways, it's still there for the SEBA students. So let's look at the title first, The Midnight Visitor. What does the title mean? It means someone who comes to see you or meet you in the middle of the night. एक ऐसा आदमी जो आपसे रात को मिलने आता है. So before we jump into the chapter, क्या हुआ यहाँ पे, रात को मिलने कौन आया, and we know all these things, let's learn a little about the author, that is Robert Arthur. So let's go and learn about him. So Robert Arthur Jr., that's his name. His full name is Robert J. Arthur Jr. As you can see here, he was born November 10, 1909 and he died May 2, 1969. He was a writer, he was a fiction writer, and he's best known for his work like, as you can see here, Mysterious Traveler, and he has also written other detective, or I would say that young adult novels, that is Three Investigators, as you can see here on the screen. Arthur was honored twice by the Mystery Writers of America with an Edgar Award for Best Radio Drama. Edgar Award क्या होता है? Edgar Allan Poe एक बहुत ही फेमस पोएट हैं, उनके नाम पर जो है अवार्ड दिया जाता है, तो वो भी उनको 2 बार मिल चुका था. He also wrote scripts for television such as The Twilight Zone, Alfred Hitchcock's TV show Alfred Hitchcock Presents, ये सब उन्होंने यहाँ पे किया है. Now that we have a little idea about him, let's jump into the chapter and पढ़ते हैं chapter को. चलो. Alright, so this lesson is about your typical detective lesson that you have. In it we have 3 primary characters. One is Ausable and the other one is Max. These 2 are like secret agents, one after another. And then we have a simple man who is a Fowler, whose name is Fowler, who is a writer. Okay. Now Ausable is a secret agent and he is expecting a very important report to come to him. Okay, we'll come to know about what that report is about. And Max wants to have that report in his hands. And the question is, can Max have it from Ausable, or Ausable does something to, defeat Max? That's the whole story is about. Okay, before we jump into the chapter, let's look at the glossary quickly. So what are there in the glossary? Glossary are the terms, are the words that have been used in this lesson. Let's see, the first word is romantic. Okay, it means imaginative. Having a fantastic view of reality. It means a romantic person would be a young person who sees everything, who likes to get wet in the rain, who likes to eat everything, try everything, who's adventurous. So that person can be categorized as romantic. Second is passively, which means well enough, tolerably well. It means it is as much as it's supposed to be. And espionage means spying. If you do espionage on somebody, you are spying on somebody. Sloppy means carelessly dressed. You will come to know who is sloppy and who is carelessly dressed here in this lesson. Then we have prosaic, which means ordinary, very ordinary. We have something related to a phone call here, which is referred as prosaic call. Then we have chuckled. It means laughed quietly without opening your mouth. So that's a kind of laughter. Some people laugh in that manner. They don't just open their mouth. They just keep their teeth attached and they laugh. Then we have wheezed, which means spoke, breathing noisily and heavily. It's more like whispering into somebody's ears. We have missiles, weapons directed by remote control or automatically. Everybody knows about that. And lastly, the word is shrilly, which means piercingly in a high pitch. Means a tone that is unbearable for your ears. Okay, let's go back to the lesson and start reading what's there. Before we read, we have 2 questions that we need to find out, and you need to keep these 2 questions in your mind. Question number 1, how is Ausable different than other secret agents? So the whole time, I explain in the chapter, these are the questions that have to be dwelling in your mind. How is Ausable different from other secret agents? Ausable is certainly different, and I will tell you how. So you need to find a description and how he is different than other secret agents. Then we have, who is Fowler? We'll come to know about this man. I'll tell you in a little bit. What is his authentic thrill of the day, and how was he thrilled? What was his authentic thrill? How did he get scared? How did he find adventure in that in this chapter, so we'll come to know about that. Okay, about secret agents. Secret agents, as we see in Hollywood films, like in the films of James Bond 007, we see them very well dressed, and then they seem to know how to handle all the machineries, and they know every other language, they know how to write, and they're very stylish, they know martial art, karate, and all these things. But we are not talking about such secret agents here. Ausable is certainly different than all these secret agents that we have a notion in our mind by watching all the films that we have seen. Okay, Ausable, let's read, did not fit in any description, okay, any description of a secret agent. He does not look like a secret agent. And according to who he doesn't look like a secret agent? It's according to Fowler, who is a writer here, okay. He is a romantic writer, like a young man. He loves to write about things like thrilling things. Fowler had ever read, so Fowler is a reader, so he has never read about a secret agent the way Ausable looks like. It's like the opposite of everyone or everything that he read. Following him down the musty corridor of gloomy French hotels. This is very important. Musty corridor here means it's not well designed, and gloomy French hotel also means it doesn't have much light. So he was following him into in a hotel where Ausable had a room. Ausable had a room, and Fowler had a meeting with Ausable. So they were supposed to go to their room and have this meeting. Fowler felt let down. Felt let down is a phrase, okay? It's a phrase you need to keep in mind, which means you feel disappointed. It was a small room on the 6th floor and the top floor, and scarcely a setting for a romantic adventure. So his room was on the 6th floor, and it was the top floor, the last floor, and it was scarcely a setting. So in here you need to pay attention to the structure that has been used there. Scarcely a setting for a romantic adventure. It means the room that he was having, it was not big, and it certainly didn't look like a romantic room. Ausable was, for one thing, this is how he looks: fat, very fat. Okay, he looks very fat. He's not like, as I said, the other secret agents. He looks very fat. In fact, too fat. And then there was his accent. Accent is the way somebody speaks. Right now I'm speaking, it's an accent that I have, somehow similar to the American accent. Anyways, is the way somebody speaks a dialect. Though he spoke French and German passively, okay? Passively means just well enough. So he knew English, he had a very weird accent, and he knew French and German, these two languages passively well enough. He could speak in these two languages. Obviously he was a secret agent. That's his job. He needs to be smart. He had never altogether lost the American accent that he had brought with him some 20 years ago. So in 20 years ago, he was in Boston, okay? He was in Boston, that's a city in America. He was there. So if somebody lives somewhere for 20 years, obviously they would develop an accent. So he developed an accent, and right now he's in Paris, so he did not forget that accent as well. So right now he knows 3 languages: English, French, and German, which makes him quite intelligent and smart. Then he says something. Ausable says something, over the shoulder of Fowler. He says, "You are disappointed, my friend." You were disappointed here means perhaps he was told that Ausable would look like this or that, but Ausable understood that he is not having any thrill. He's not being entertained by him. So he said, "You were disappointed," by going over his shoulder. And then he's talking about what he was told about Ausable. Like what he was told about Ausable. Let's see what's written here. "You were told that I was a secret agent, a spy, dealing in espionage and danger." So somebody told you that I was a secret agent. I was a spy, and I'm dealing in spying and danger. So danger is a thing that I handle every other day. Maybe somebody told you that. You wish to meet me because you are a writer. So you are a writer, you wanted to meet me, a very young and a romantic writer. You love to write about these things. You envision mysterious figures in the night, and the crack of pistols, drugs, and the wines. Envisioned here means you thought that these things are going to happen. Mysterious figures means you might have seen in some detective movies, some figures come, you can only see the shadows, and then there are people with pistols, and you don't know who the murderer is. So you're saying you envisioned all those things at night. You also envision the sound of the pistol, cracking sound of the pistols when gets loaded, and drugs in the wine. People like in secret movies you might have seen people mix something in the wine and then they offer it, and the moment you drink it, you're like unconscious. So he's saying, you have been told all these things about me, but what did you get? This is very important here, okay? Let's see, what did you get? Instead, you have spent a dull evening in a French music hall with a sloppy fat man, okay, rather undistinguished looks. He was wearing a very loose dress, and he's saying, instead of all these things that you imagined would happen to you, you spent a dull evening in a French hotel with a sloppy fat man like me. Instead of having messages slipped into his hands by dark-eyed beauties. You also thought that messages, some dark-eyed beauties mean some girls would come mysteriously and secretly give some message in my hand in a small cutout. You thought about that. Gets only a prosaic telephone call. So I didn't get any of these things. I just got a prosaic call. Prosaic, we already discovered what's the meaning of that word. Prosaic means an ordinary call. I just got a call, and through that I made an appointment in my room, in his room. That's what he did. He says, you have been bored, my friend. So he's saying, after seeing all these things, as you imagine, it didn't go as far as your imagination, so now you are bored with me. The fat man chuckled to himself as he unlocked the door. So he was saying all these things, and then he started chuckling to himself as he unlocked the door. Chuckling means he was laughing without showing his teeth, and then he unlocked his door. Like they were having this conversation when Fowler was following him, and Ausable was going to his room, and all these things that I just said, explained to you, happened in the backdrop. Okay, so now he opened the door of his room and stood aside. He stood aside, let his frustrated guest enter. That's like a very humble gesture. People do that. If you come to my house, I'll do the same thing. I will just open the door and I'll let you enter first, and then I'll go in. Okay, so that's what he did. You are disillusioned. Then he says something. You are disillusioned, Ausable said to him. Means you have bad illusions. Okay, you have some wrong illusions or some wrong assumptions about me. But take cheer, my young friend. And then he said, take cheer, my young friend, means don't worry. Okay, take a chill pill. Presently, you will see a paper. So you would see somebody's coming to meet me, and you will see a paper, a quite important paper for which several men and women have risked their lives. Okay, so he's saying, I'm going to get a paper, okay, and for this paper, several men and women have risked their lives, which is going to come to me. Someday soon, that paper may affect the course of history. And he said, someday this paper would be, about this paper, it would be included in the history, which means it's a very important paper. In that thought, there is drama, isn't there? Because he was a writer, and writers always look for drama. Then he said, in this thought, do you not find some drama? As he spoke, Ausable closed the door behind him, then he switched on the light. So they were saying all these things, and then he just, closed the door behind him, and then switched on the lights. Okay, and what did happen after switching on the lights? And as the light came on, Fowler, this is the answer to your question, had the first authentic thrill of the day. Okay, he had his first authentic scare, the adventure that he was looking for. For halfway across the room, maybe in the middle of the room, a small automatic pistol in his hand stood a man. So there was a man, and in his hand there was a small automatic pistol. He was pointing the pistol towards these two men. Ausable blinked a few times. Blinking is like winking your eyes a couple of times when you are actually trying to see somebody, trying to look at somebody, and trying to remember, where have I seen him or her? So he said, Max, he whizzed. Then he said slowly, Max, are you Max? He was trying to recognize him. Are you Max? You gave me quite a start. You scared me. You scared the hell out of me. You gave me quite a start is a phrase which kind of gives you the meaning of you scared the hell out of me. I thought you were in Berlin. He said, Max told him, I thought you were in Berlin. What are you doing here in my room? What are you doing here in my room? Max was a slender, little less than tall, with features that suggested slightly the crafty, pointed countenance of a fox. So these lines actually will tell you how the appearance of Max. Okay, Max was a slender man. It was slender means slim, and little less than tall. It was like not too tall, it was medium, with features that suggested slightly crafty. So if you looked at him, it felt like he was a very crafty man. He was like very clever, a little clever. Point at the countenance of a face means if you looked at his face, it looked like a fox. His face resembled the look of a fox. There was about him, aside from the gun, nothing spatially menacing. So if you looked at him, nothing was so important other than the gun that he was holding. It means if he didn't have the gun in his hands, he was nothing. He could be just taken down. So it's the gun that makes him the most powerful. Here, the report, he murmured. And he said, give me the report. Okay, give me the report. Hand me the report. The report that is being brought to you tonight concerning some new missiles. I thought I would take it from you and it will be safer in my hands than in yours. Then he said, the report concerning some missiles that is going to come to you. So the report, now we know, is about missiles. So he said, the report that has come to you regarding missiles, some information, maybe codes, I want it. Give it to me. And I thought I would take it from you. This is going to be safer in my hands than in your hands.